Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Great to be with you on a Wednesday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Final day of quarantine. We're going to fist bump that, and thankfully back in studio tomorrow. We are loaded up. Plenty of thoughts on Trev Alberts, his appearance on the Husker Network last night when it comes to job performance, security, momentum, and Coach Frost. We'll get there. We'll talk plenty of Husker football with Mike Babcock from Hail Varsity. Babbers in about 20 minutes or so. And then it is Wednesday. We'll head to Wilderness Ridge, catch up with Mike Schuhart, get Shuey's take on Purdue, Shuey's take on hoops, Shuey's take on golf. And in hour two, the Pride of Ord is back at it with us. Andy Markowski, former Husker basketball standout. Andy will be with us, get his take on the Big Red, his expectations for Nebraska basketball as the mayor and company get to be in front of a full PBA for the first time in forever. So the exhibition game tonight, Nebraska basketball on our mind, Husker volleyball, arm wrestling with Wisconsin later tonight as well. And then Tom Dienhart with Yahoo and Rivals, Purdue Insider, Big Ten Insider. Tom will be with us in hour two. Emails, chris@hailvarsity.com. Give us a follow on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel is where we're at. And pretty excited now. Before practice, we're going to catch up now with the Pirate himself, Mike Leach. Some football, some candy, and some spooky stories to get us rolling here on a Wednesday. It's Coach Leach. Coach, how we doing? It's been a while.
Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah, it has been a while. Well, we're out here down in Mississippi State trying to get a first down, and we've had good practices. We're an extremely young team, but we're a very enthusiastic team, and we seem to be getting better.
How daunting's the SEC schedule been? It's obviously tough. Year two for you, your first non-COVID year, and you've had a lot of wins, and you've had some near misses, and you got Kentucky on deck.
Well, we're two plays from winning all of them, but Alabama. Two of those games we literally lost by one play, and I think if we were a more experienced team, we would have won them. But now we've done some good things too. Of course, we beat A&M and beat several pretty good teams, and so then Kentucky this week. So we'll see. They've been playing together pretty well. Then that's the thing with them is they're one of the more experienced teams in our conference. So I like our guys, like our youth, like our enthusiasm, like what's ahead in the future. But it will be us versus some experience when we play Kentucky.
Coach, I'm interested to get your thoughts on that one or two plays away. Is it really about experience and getting that win in a close game to get guys, to get teams over the hump when it comes to kind of believing you can win versus hoping you can win a tight ball game?
Yeah, it's like that against NC State. We beat NC State, and I think part of it is consistency. I mean, as you get older, you get more consistent, and consistency, I think, helps you win tight games. And some of our games, I felt like were tight because of our inconsistency.
Gotcha. Coach, I know practice around the corner. I need to ask you about candy corn, and we've talked about candy corn and your post game. The whole world saw on social media with your thoughts on candy corn. At what point? Have you pinpointed who gave you that first horrible dose of candy corn? How old were you when you got into the...
I think I was a kid. I think it probably started somewhere with trick-or-treating, and, inevitably you're going to get candy corn, especially back then. Just constant candy corn. Smarties and candy corn were kind of very prevalent. And then those just globs of pumpkin-looking candy that you never saw before again, and you never ate them either. We never ate them. And Smarties were good, but then you get candy corn, and I do remember. I can't remember exactly when. It wasn't the first time. Ate some candy corn. Said, "Well, this really isn't very good." And then ate some more and said, "Well, this is all there is, so I better enjoy this." And then after eating a certain amount, I got sick. I think I've gotten sick on candy corn actually twice, and that would have been somewhere prior to third grade, I think. And then after that, I was pretty well done with candy corn. And even as a kid, where you so desperately chased down candy back then, you'd go to the store and try to get your mom to give you a quarter so you could get, the penny candy sitting there. And then the candy corn, hell no, that was out.
Well, you posted the how to eat candy corn tutorial. Open the bag, pour candy into the trash, eat a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad idea. I read that overall Reese's is the number one candy in the country.
It does well.
It's the number one favorite, allegedly. And Reese's were popular when I was a kid, too. I was never a Reese's guy. I wasn't as big into, chocolate overall. And if I did, I wanted something with like almonds in it or something, or a little action. I was a big Jolly Rancher guy. I love Jolly Rancher.
Did you ever put Jolly Ranchers into Zima?
No. What is it? I heard something else you put in there and it makes it explode. Oh, Mentos.
Yeah, Mentos will blow up a Coke. Yeah. Never tried that.
Like that. No, I never did put them in a Zima. Is that good?
I no. It's Zima, man.
Yeah, I know exactly. But no, I like Jolly Ranchers. They seem to be fewer and farther between now. When I lived in Golden, Colorado, we were quite close to Wheat Ridge, which is where Jolly Ranchers company was. And I was a big fan, and I loved cherry sticks. That was my ultimate go-to when I was a kid, cherry stick.
I'm sending you a picture. I'm in my kid's room because I'm quarantined. He has 50 packages of Jolly Ranchers all over his desk. Not schoolwork, Coach.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Well, that kid will go far. He's definitely ahead of his time, not getting caught up in, all the chocolate stuff and everything else. And then, then of course they came out with all the different gummies. And to be honest, I'm not sure the gummy snakes, where one of the snakes is sweet and one's sour. They got to be Haribo, but the gummy snakes are pretty good. The gummy cherries are good. So you can't go wrong with any of that.
Coach, so when you go get your... go ahead.
That one what are they called? The one that's the marshmallow covered with chocolate. I like that one, too.
That one's pretty good. Mike Leach with us, Sail Varsity Radio. Coach, getting ready for Kentucky, Mississippi State, Kentucky this weekend. So have you ever gone to a Halloween party as a pirate?
No, I haven't. If I went to one, which I can't say that I've gone to a ton of Halloween parties to begin with, but if I went, it would be bad because you get pretty good gear, That's one thing with the pirate deal, you get cool gear. You get a cool looking, potentially a pistol and a sword. I mean, sword. How do you beat a sword?
You don't, and though I can just see you showing up to a Halloween party as a pirate. When you go to the dollar store, do you have to kind of go incognito? Do you have the hat and the shades, or do you just kind of show up as Coach Leach when you go get your candy stash?
I usually just go. Sometimes my wife goes, but I'll just go, and then like Key West, where we'd be more inclined to go to movies, we try to go to the dollar store and get the boxes of the small sprees. Why you can't get those anywhere is amazing to me. But, because they used to sell them everywhere. Now you can't find them but at the dollar store. But the ones with the small ones so that they don't jack your teeth up as bad.
So have you ever encountered, have you had a haunted experience? I know we talked a while back and you stayed in one of the haunted rooms in the L.A. hotel. Have you had a haunted experience anywhere else? Have you checked out some of the ghosts of Mississippi?
I think I have. I think I have. And my mother-in-law thinks so too, and so does my brother-in-law. Okay, so we were at my wife's house in Utah, or my wife's mom's house in Utah, and I'd always feel these weird presences in this bedroom we stayed in, and just feel this, there's something there, and I'd wake up suddenly and could, even though it was dark, could kind of see, what I felt like was just, how would I describe it? It's almost like there's a film on your eye or something. Maybe it's my imagination, but then you wonder that. And then it's almost like a soap bubble, but very faint, And so that, but I, just felt like there's something there. And then went out and passed this in the living room one time when there were people in the living room, and I could see these kind of orbs going around. Then I'd rub my eye, and then I'd look, and so and then as we started talking, I mentioned it, and then her mother, Darlene, said that this furniture used to belong to a lady, and that furniture used to belong to another. All the furniture had belonged to some lady, some relative or something, and the bed and the drawers that were in that bedroom, and then so she said, well, that used to belong to this lady, and she goes, well, maybe she wants her furniture back,
You're in her seat.
I go, well, then I said, well, so I've seen these orbs, by this lamp here before. I go, why would it be by this lamp? Because this lamp's definitely not that lady's, because the lamp looked kind of modern-y, okay? Well, it turns out it was the lady's lamp. That lamp was the lady's lamp, too.
Oh,
and
wow.
So then Darlene gets all that furniture out of the house, and I've stayed in that room several times since, never, felt any vibe in there after that. Okay, then my brother-in-law, he was up fixing the air conditioner one time and knew that everybody was gone, and hears this, hello, hello, hello. So goes down to look, can't find anything, and swears he hears it. And, and he's a guy that thinks he's an atheist, which I've never quite got that. So you're an atheist, and now we also have ghosts. I mean, it's either one or the other, isn't it? And then, no, he thinks there was something there, and he says that it was inexplicable in the whole thing. And so, ghosts are fun enough that atheists will believe in them if they feel like it.
So last thought here, Coach. Did you ever dabble with a Ouija board?
No. Well, let me see. I guess that there's a half yes to that. Okay, so first of all, Yeah, a little bit. Then immediately got bored and said, "What the hell are we doing?" I mean, you can play Risk or Monopoly. You know, you sit there at the board, you ask a question, and that thing just sits there. You know, and so then, no, I was not into that. And then there is a creep factor to it, and then it's not really the type of thing where a bunch of people can do it at a time. You know,
right? Do you have a buddy or anybody that?
It's the Ouija board is creepy meets boring, you know.
Gotcha. Did you ever have a buddy get freaked out by one? I'm sure you've heard stories.
By a Ouija board? Not a Ouija board. I don't know specific. I have no specific. Seems like I did, and I wasn't there, but that they mentioned they had some experience or some. I have heard that people have experiences with them, though.
Yeah, that same here. Haven't ever really dabbled with one, but haven't heard a lot of good. Coach, have a great Saturday. Enjoy Kentucky and Mississippi State, and have a good ball game. Okay, thanks for a few minutes.
All right, I appreciate it.
There's the Pirate. Some haunting stories about the mother-in-law's house. Mike Babcock will dive back into some Nebraska football at Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio listen?
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back with you at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to Coach Leach for jumping on before practice. We welcome in Mr. Husker football historian, author, Hall of Famer Mike Babcock with Hail Varsity Magazine, hailvarsity.com, at MD Babs on Twitter. Babbers, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing okay, but this is a tough deal, you know, following the Pirate.
Babbers, no worries. No worries, my friend. You're always awesome. The old Pirate, we didn't spend as much time on candy corn because he completely covered that in his post game. But he's a fan of trying to find his way into haunted venues.
Yeah, that's good. He can do that. I'll leave that to him.
We'll let him do it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. No, same here, man. I'm a wuss. Let him deal with it all. Let's spend a minute here. What was your thoughts, your reaction from Trev Alberts last night? He had his AD show with the network and was asked pretty much point blank about a vote of confidence for Coach Frost, and I thought Trev handled it well. Did you read into any of his comments? What was your takeaway?
You know, I didn't read into his comments. I didn't read anything into it. I thought I'm with you. I thought he said the appropriate thing, and I think that Trev is he's a fairly transparent guy. I mean, I think that he probably said what he thought there, and you know, I think he'd take it at face value. I don't think there was any kind of undercurrent in what he said. I think it was appropriate, and again, I don't think he's the kind of person as athletic director that's going to, you know, be rash in his decision making. And I think that he'll, you know, whatever decision there is to be made, you know, in this, you know, in the age of social media, this thing really gets trumped up significantly, I think. But no, I didn't have any, you know, I want to read into it what he was saying there. I think he said the right thing, and I think he felt what he said was the right thing to say.
Mike Babcock's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Mike, obviously a lot can change between now and Black Friday, but in your opinion, will there be a decision that needs to be made by the end of this football season, or has Scott done enough just based on the progress you've seen and the talent of this Nebraska football team that he has earned his shot at another year? Well,
this is just my point of view. I'm not probably as practical as a lot of people would be, but you know, I don't think 4 years are enough. And I think that he's done enough. Now, here's the thing. You know, it's just a what if. What if Nebraska would win 3 out of 4 and get to a bowl game? Or what if Nebraska would lose all 4 and finish 3-9? I mean, they're those are extremes, and maybe it'll fall somewhere in between. But that's regardless. I think that he needs to have an opportunity for another season to see what's going to happen. But we hear the same thing each time we go to the Monday news conference. They're on the verge. All they need to do is fix the little things, and then the little things come up again. And little things are not little things when they cost you games.
Mike, that's been what's maddening is how close Nebraska's been, and how it's, to coin the phrase, it's been repeated, the same movie. Do you think it's just a situation with this team and their mentality where there's an oh no, or they're waiting for something bad to happen, or is it just the reality of playing in a really tough league where you've got more either experienced teams or more confident teams? Because this team's played at a high level a lot of times, and they've played confident football. I wonder, is that confidence shaken post-Minnesota, or do you think they can kind of get back to their old form this Saturday?
Well, I've probably said this before, but I think that, you can say that we believe in ourselves and that, we're going to win. When we go out on that field, we think we're going to win. But and Scott kind of addressed this on Monday, the mentality of it. They've tried to be psychological, he said. I think that saying that is a lot easier than actually believing it. And by that, I mean you have to get in that winning mentality by winning, not by saying it. And so, you're close in all these games, and you say, well, we've got that winning mentality. That's why we're close. No, that's not it. You've got to get over that. Get over the hump, I think, is what was the image that's been used a couple of times at those news conferences. You've got to get to the point where you're winning, and you believe based on that. And Nebraska is not there yet. It's a mindset thing in part, because, as you said, that they've got talent. There's improvement there. Frost used the phrase bigger, stronger, faster, which I remember back in the day, Boyd Epley was every year, he'd talk about the weight room, and that was kind of what, they were bigger, stronger, and faster. And they probably were, because he was a pioneer in that field. But you still have to get that mindset. And it's tough when you've been down to get back up there. And I think that's where Nebraska's at. I think a lot of it is mentality. And I think what you said is, subconsciously, here we go again. Or, here's the situation. It's a key situation, and we make a mistake, and it cost us. But it's subconscious, because you talk to the players, and it's like, they've got confidence. They say they've got confidence in themselves, and on some level they do. But it's you still have to win to develop that winning mentality, and I don't think that they're not there yet. Is what I think.
Mike Babcock's with us from Hail Varsity Magazine, HailVarsity.com, at MD Babs. Follow Babbers on Twitter. Is it going to be another case study Saturday of that mentality? Do you expect this thing to be tight? I know Vegas says it's a touchdown, and Purdue's been difficult for Nebraska. I don't know where Purdue's at, though, Mike, coming into this.
Yeah, that's the thing. On just a really superficial level, probably. So you play Iowa and then you play Wisconsin, two very physical teams. So Nebraska has a week off. That could be a benefit to Nebraska when Purdue's coming off two games, regardless win or lose. Very physical games that the Boilermakers have played. So what kind of a toll does that take on the Boilermakers? The other thing, it's kind of funny. They've got the three guys that have done some things at quarterback for them. The old adage, when you got two quarterbacks, you got no quarterbacks, kind of thing. And now when you got three, I don't know what the adage would be, but that's kind of an interesting thing. But I think it's going to be a competitive, close game. I really do. And again, I think that Nebraska might have a little bit of an advantage because Purdue has had physical games the last 2 weeks, and that can take a toll.
Mike Babcock's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. And Mike, if there's one thing that you think this Husker team should have worked on, or if they did improve upon in the bye week, they're going to be a better football team these last 4 games. What do you think that one thing would be if you had to pick one?
Protect the quarterback with the offensive line so that you can establish some kind of a running game and keep people off the quarterback, because Nebraska and Purdue are tied for the most sacks in the Big Ten, giving up the most sacks in the Big Ten. There's going to be pressure that Purdue has shown it can put on the quarterback. Offensive line has to be able to protect the quarterback, give him an opportunity to throw, give the running game an opportunity to be established.
Yeah, that'll be super important Saturday at 2:30 when Nebraska and Purdue kick off. Mike, let's go to Husker basketball. The exhibition tonight against Peru State. The Buffs come to town Sunday for another exhibition, and then a week away from the opener. Your excitement number is what out of 10 for this season?
Well, I'm always energetic and excited when it comes to basketball, to the basketball season. So you can put it anywhere. You can put it at 10. I'm always excited for that. I'm excited to see the Nebraska volleyball team tonight against Wisconsin. There's another exciting thing. So, yeah, basketball, same thing. Women's basketball. Let's see where there's optimism there too. Mm-hmm. So all these things, at this time of year, it's really exciting to anticipate what you're going to see, and it's going to be a dramatically different men's basketball team than what we saw a year ago. So let's see how these guys perform.
You're going to have talent now, Mike. Do you think that talent translates into more wins? I know Fred's going to have to figure out the rotation and then use his bench because he'll have plenty of options. But do you think they can be obviously competitive, but push for some sort of postseason?
I just want them to be competitive at this point. Postseason, I don't want to take too big of a leap. I don't want to put too much pressure there. Just be very competitive, and the pieces can fall into place. But you got a trail to follow here. Same way the football team, you got to develop that mentality, and so let's be competitive first, and then worry about whether you're going to get to a tournament or not. Don't set that as your standard. Set being competitive as your standard right now.
Mike, about a minute left here. We heard Coach Hoiberg say on Wednesday that he likes expectations for a basketball team, and he didn't accept this job thinking that there wouldn't be expectations. But do you think there are expectations upon what this Husker basketball team should be doing this season?
Oh, yeah, I definitely do, because, again, there's been so much talk about, the talent that's been brought in. Got a 5-star recruit for the first time. Fred Hoiberg's resume goes into that. When he was hired, that was part of the deal. It's like, well, this guy's got a tremendous resume. What can he do here? So, yeah, I think there certainly is a lot of expectation among fans. To some extent, it's that way every year, but I think that there's maybe more so this year because of the talent that they've brought in. But there was talk about talent a year ago, so we'll see.
Mike Babcock, read him with Hail Varsity Magazine, hailvarsity.com, and follow Babbers on Twitter at MDBabs. Mike, we'll get caught up again next week. Thanks for jumping in with us today, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Mike Babcock, we'll check in with Mike Schuhart. Andy Markowski on the way. Tom Dienhart will tell us all about Purdue. That's Hour 2 with Hail Varsity.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Good stuff from Mike Babcock and, of course, Coach Leach. The Pirate kicked us off in Hour 1. That full interview of Babbers and Coach Leach on ESPNLincoln.com. The on-demand. It'll be posted on Twitter, and we'll have a 2-minute drill of the time Coach saw some ghosts pretty entertaining. We welcome in out at Wilderness Ridge Mike Schuhart. Shuey with us. Can find Mike on Twitter at Mike Schuhart. Shuey, what do you know? Good to spend time with you.
Nice. Glad to be on. Wish it wasn't raining.
Well, you and me both. I've got two big old puppies that love the rain and love the carpet, so we'll do that math together. Tell me about your weekend, man. You had a chance to go out to West Palm, compete a little bit, and then I saw on Twitter you made a quick stop at Nick's Diner. What did you order at Nick's Diner?
Meatloaf sandwich.
Baby.
It was absolutely delicious. I should have taken a picture of it, but I ate it faster than I could take a picture of it. So it was awesome.
That is so good. So what were you doing out at West Palm? Obviously playing. Give us a little backstory.
We had that was the National Senior Club Pro Championship that I qualified for earlier in the summer, and that was the national tournament. So I went out there. That's the first time I've competed at that level in 10 years. So it was 10 years ago, about to the day that I played my first senior event. 10 years later, I played the second one. So I found out that I need to be a little better prepared next time I go.
Well, did you have fun?
I did. I had a lot of fun. It was great. I mean, there was people that I haven't seen for 20 that I ran into, probably 100 of them, actually. So that was the best part of it, guys that kind of reconnected with that I haven't seen, that I competed with for all the time I was out there competing, and, I haven't competed for a while, and to run into them again and kind of reminisce about a lot of the things that happened in our playing days. So it was really fun.
That's awesome, Shu. I'm glad you got to go out and compete again, and you'll rock and roll it next time you're out. What's the next event for Shuey?
Well, actually, the next event is to me start working on my game throughout the winter to be prepared for next year.
There you go.
Got me a little motivated, actually.
Well, that's awesome. Shuey, we'll get an update on Wilderness and the Lazy River and the swim-up bar that I'm going to make sure I get my laps in to try out. But a thought on Saturday. Tough one against Minnesota, a week off to recalibrate for Nebraska football. And how you feeling Saturday? Close one or more of kind of a Northwestern performance for Nebraska? I'm asking you because Elijah and I put our heads together, and we're still working on figuring out Nebraska football this season.
I think you and everybody else is trying to figure out what you're going to see out of them. I think it's going to be a close one. I think every game pretty much they play is going to be a close one. Northwestern's probably the most complete game that they've kind of put together, mistake-free and very efficient. And you see what they can do when they play that way. But you've only seen that really maybe one time. They just have a tendency to play down to their opponents and up to their opponents. So it's like Purdue was kind of a game that people thought they would have a really good chance to win. Not so much anymore. Minnesota, they thought that was going to be a win for them, and they found out quite quickly that it was completely opposite of that. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. A week off had to help them some, I would hope, heal up. But they got 4 tough games, and they got to win 3 of the 4. So hopefully they know that.
I'm sure they're aware as we're working on, we were talking with Babbers about the mentality of the team, talking about breaking through, but you can speak to this just being a pro like you have been. You got to go do it, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes you just got to know what's in front of you, and you just got to suck it up, and you have to do it. That's I don't know, a little concerning to me. It's not like sometimes I get the sense that it's not a sense of urgency to them. It's okay, it'll just happen. It's like sometimes you have to make it happen, or it's never going to happen. It's like, do they really want it to happen? Do they even know what that is? I think a few guys do, but I'm not sure a lot of them do.
Shuey, are you gearing up for the Hoiberg bandwagon? You excited for year 3?
I am. I mean, it's another one. That's a strange I mean, there's a lot of hype. Looks like there's some talent on there, but I mean, the guy hasn't won very many games here. So it's like we have a tendency, at least, all of us. I mean, we have a lot of hope that we see something good, and we get a lot of hype, get excited about it, and then kind of let down. So I don't know. I'm trying to stay a little more even keeled about what it is, and being a little more skeptical about what I'm going to see on the court.
Mike Schuhart's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. And Mike, we had Trev Alberts on Sports Nightly last night say he has optimism regarding every sport here at Nebraska and the future, what the future could bring, I guess I should say. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you think that you have optimism regarding most of the main sports that you follow regarding or with Husker athletics?
Oh, no question. I mean, part of it comes from your support from your university, which there's a tremendous amount of that, your fan support, which there's a tremendous amount of that. It's just that, man, you got to hire the right people that do it the right way, And it's like that comes to him. And so does he have faith in the people that are running their programs going in the direction that they need to go? So it's like, yeah, I'm assuming so. But then it's like, bottom line is it's wins and losses. I mean, you can have all the faith in the world, but if you keep winning 3 games a year, I mean, how long can that faith last? Sooner or later, it's like they can't get the job done, And it's, how long do you give them? How long do you stay with that? That's the tough one. It's a really tough, because you want them to succeed. You think they're going to succeed. But if you keep giving me the same product year after year after year, it's like something's got to change.
Mike Schuhart's with us, Wilderness Ridge Golf. Shuey, give us an update here, brother, about a minute or so with construction, the new digs. You moved into your new pro shop, correct?
Correct. So we still got, we moved into our new pro shop. It's beautiful. So they should come out and take a look at it. Still kind of finalizing some stuff to get our academy open. So working on that. They're working on the lazy river. I'm standing in the academy looking at the bridge over the lazy river that is all set in place. So it looks beautiful. I walked over it before I left to Florida, so it's pretty fun. So we got to get a little weather cooperating so we can keep pouring cement and get everything done. But it's moving right along.
I can just imagine the alley-oops with lime in hand, Shuey popping a lime into my Corona, and then option pitching to me as I go right by the bridge.
Exactly right. I can see that. I've already kind of imagined that that's going to happen. So
as soon as the horror of me without a shirt on washes away, you'll hand off the goods.
That's right.
Shuey, we will catch up next week. We'll spend a little bit more time with you as well on membership stuff. That's going to be a great holiday option for folks. And
yes.
Appreciate you, my friend, and congrats on the competition last weekend.
Thank you much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Everybody stay safe.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Winding down this first hour, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, as we're gearing up for Andy Markowski, the pride of Ord. Next hour, his take on Husker hoops, the preview on 2021-2022, what to expect from the Big Red. More thoughts with Purdue as Tom Dienhart from Yahoo and Rivals, goldenblack.com, will give us his take on what Saturday may bring as whiskey and beer come to town. Buckle up, do so. 70% of people in fatal crashes in Nebraska not wearing a seatbelt. If used properly, a seatbelt can and will reduce the risk of fatal injury by 60%. Your best defense in any crash, buckling up. Brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. We spent a little bit of time before talking to Coach Leach at the start of the show on Trev Alberts on Nebraska, on his appearance with the network last night, and the topic of where Trev's at, his response to a pointed question about Scott Frost from a morale standpoint, from a security of the program. Do you want to make a declarative statement last night on the radio for all of Husker Nation to hear that Trev's your guy. I should say that Scott's your guy. Forgive me. Moving forward, and Trev was right on about where momentum was at. Now that needs to be recalibrated, regenerated. You've got a final 4 games to make a push here. And when it comes to bold, broad statements, Trev not into that. Here's that full comment last night.
It's interesting as you watch college football and you watch different institutions choose to handle situations differently. I've just always been very careful, and I think trying to be consistent. I mean, early in the year, I'm not a guy that likes to go out and talk about number of wins required. You don't know what's going to happen the rest of the way. And so making bold, broad statements in the middle of a football season, to me, can be very counterproductive. I understand your perspective, and I do think that, there's a time and space for that. All I can tell you is I've been extraordinarily proud of Coach Frost and our coaching staff. I love working with Scott. We continue working together. I see great things for our football program, and I watch other institutions, fire coaches 2 games in. I know it's crazy la-la land in some of those respects, but I'm proud of what Coach Frost and our staff has done. Like I said, we've got 4 games in the next 5 weeks that I think are a great opportunity for us, and really looking forward to seeing them play well against Purdue.
So that is Trev Alberts on Scott Frost when it comes to job security. And 2 different times in that soundbite, in that answer, he said proud. Now, proud to me means Scott is going the right direction. That's my interpretation. That's how I'm reading into it. Wins need to follow. Wins need to come. And Trev's very measured. Trev's super smart. And Trev, at his heart, wants what's best for Nebraska football. And he also wants this to work. So pulling the pin on the hand grenade and saying, you better go 3-1 is not his style. And this team has their own pressure, right? They're trying to work through it. We'll see if they can bounce back Saturday. Husker Hoops back at it at PBA tonight. The Pride of Ord, Andy Markowski next. Hail Varsity continues.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to an hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and strong hour 1. Thanks so much to Mike Babcock, Mike Schuhart, and Coach Mike Leach, the Pirate, getting us kicked off on, some spooky stories about a haunted mother-in-law's house. Going to want to check that out, ESPNLincoln.com. Nebraska basketball on our mind. We welcome in the Pride of Ord. Stand out for Nebraska basketball. We say hi to Andy Markowski at Markowski Andy on Twitter is where you find him. Andy, what's good? How you doing?
Yeah, doing great, Schmitty. Great time of the in case you have Bluetooth here. Great time of the year here. So got the Husker hoops starting and hoops right around the corner.
It is outstanding. Andy, you've coached at the Division I level. You do a great job coaching at high school now, and I'm interested to kind of get your take, and you've been a part of teams that brought in a lot of talent. What's the trick to meshing all that talent and specifically getting guys to accept roles, big or small? Is that a concern this year for you with Nebraska men?
Well, from the outside, it is. Anytime that you have transfers and having more talent than what you've had in the past is exciting. But certainly, you start to divvy up the minutes. There's 200 minutes, and you start doing the math on kind of what players expect, what they need, what they deserve. So you ask, what's important. I think communication is really important from the staff to the players. And then I think the locker room itself, you have to have really good leadership. Players have to keep each other accountable. And then the ultimate deodorant is winning. I mean, players, if you're part of a winning team, they tend to not be as vocal. They accept their role more just because you're a pariah if you start to be outspoken, when your team is having success and winning. So you start to lose. Those things can be more exposed, and you can become fragmented, pretty quickly. But communication and trust with your leaders of your team, and then ultimately you got to win and perform well, and the rest should be history.
Andy Markowski is with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Some thoughts on Nebraska basketball. Eddie, you were a guy that was voted the captain. You were part of that leadership core. Do you have instances where you had to be vocal with a guy that may not like his role, or in a different sense, have to encourage a guy that you needed more from?
Yeah, all the above. I mean, you're really, from practice habits to energy to, shot selection to, effort plays, from a scouting report, who's putting in the time watching film, who's putting in time extra shots. I think all of that, the coaches can have the idea, but all of that really has to be, accountable from each player that's a part of that. So, we had all those instances, and sometimes you had players disagree with you and challenge you, emotionally, physically. I mean, that was all part of the process. But, once again, a strong locker room with leaders that, not only tell you how to do it, but they're leading by example, right? I mean, that's always key, too. Your best players have to be your most vocal, and they have to be willing to kind of walk the walk. And, we'll find out. The young kids are going to get a chance. You have Verge as a transfer that's a point guard. I don't know what his leadership capabilities are. You bring a kid back like Webster, which, was a leader last year, is, hopefully can offer you some stability if things do start going south during a game. So, I think Fred has some different buttons to push. But if the young kids playing a lot of minutes are willing to lead and be led, I think this team has a chance to have a successful season.
Let's get into Verge and this roster. Fred's done a great job historically of bringing in transfers. Verge is very special with what he can do when it comes to making buckets, but also slashing through and finding teammates. It seems like Verge, his personality fits well with the rest of the kids that are back, and we spend a lot of time on Trey and of course Bryce, but is Verge really, is he kind of an unspoken key for this team because of what his potential is?
Yeah, here's a kid that's averaged double figures, in a BCS conference in the Pac-12. So, how that translates into the Big Ten, which is a little bit more physical, not quite as fast-paced as what the Pac-12 is. I'll be anxious to see if he can, have that level of productivity. But no doubt he's fast with the basketball. I think the key to two things with this team is how well their 4s and 5s can hold up rebounding. We don't have great physicality along the front line. They're skilled and versatile, which, could be a challenge for other teams. And then, can our perimeter shooting, be better with Tom Maynaga and certainly Wilcher, and then, McGowan's are going to have to make jump shots. I mean, those two things are what I'm watching. I think Verge is good enough. He's proven it. Him and Webster can offer, a lot of good things at the one position, but it's going to come down to how well they can shoot it and how well the inside guys can hold up in, what is notoriously a really physical conference along the front line from a back to the basket score and rebounding league.
Andy Markowski, a few minutes with us. Husker standout, the pride of Ord, Hail Varsity Radio. Have you had a chance to see much of Bryce up close and personal, and quite honestly, what's the family dynamic there? You've got two brothers playing together. That's huge. That can be helpful. What do you think of this 5-star phenom?
Yeah, I have not had a chance to see him this summer, and then I was fortunate to sneak into Hendricks. My daughter kind of had family night. Hendricks has kind of been on lockdown for outside guests, so I've been chomping at the bit to get out and watch them. Certainly I was at the opening night, kind of scrimmage, but. Yeah, I mean, immensely talented, long, projected to be a lottery pick, right? I mean, that speaks to the potential that NBA and people think Bryce has. I'm excited. It's by far the most talented group we've had. He's probably one of the best players on paper to start a season at Nebraska. Having the brother, can be really positive. You have a, emotional support person there that kind of knows you, but yet, if one of them is not playing well or maybe one's not playing as many minutes, sometimes having brothers can be a challenge to coach as well because they have, that emotional bond with each other. And sometimes when one's up, the other one's up, and when one's down, the other one's down. And you have to be careful to make sure that you manage that. But, I'm super excited. I think the league is really good. Their non-conference schedule can be navigated to get them to 9 or 10 wins, I believe. And couple that with protecting your home court and still in some games. I think this is an NCAA tournament team.
Andy, you mentioned a few minutes ago the physicality of the Big Ten, and we had Coach Hoiberg on Wednesday when he was talking about Bryce McGowan's discuss the change between high school basketball and college basketball on the defensive side of the ball. Does offense translate better there? Because he essentially said that Bryce McGowan's has some learning to do on the defensive side of the ball still. Can you discuss that shift from high school to college on the defensive end of things?
Yeah, I think physical strength is one thing, but the second thing is you don't have to guard any hard actions in high school. I mean, in college, you not only have to guard the dribble, you've got to guard screening sequences, you've got to help, you've got to be able to dig on the post, you've got to pay attention to scouting or, whether you're taking a right hand away or a left hand away or a one dribble pull up. Those are things that college coaches are going to ask a young player to do. Not that they're not capable of doing it; they just haven't had to do it, and they have to do it over consistent minutes. So if you're going to play Bryce McGowan 25 minutes as a freshman, he can't be a sieve on the defensive end and just break down what Doc is asking him to do defensively. So I think that's the biggest challenge. Not that he's not athletic or strong enough to do it. Can he consistently do it possession over possession from one night to the next night, which might require you to guard somebody entirely different or a different system that has different screening angles. All of that stuff, I think, is the biggest thing for young players to overcome. But yet, if he can go get you 18 and give up 15, you're still +3, right? So coaches are willing to kind of look the other way and hopefully through the growing pains of a freshman, if you look at the schedule, the back 8 games are very doable. So if they can just hold things together, I think by the end of the year, this team's going to be pretty good.
Andy Markowski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Husker standout, proud papa, and, of course, the pride of Ord. You just said NCAA tournament team. Different fans have different bars for this team. And I'm not talking to the one that serves a double when you ask for a single, right? You have the hope that Nebraska, with this talent, right, you've got an opportunity with this collection of high-level dudes. And you also have a reality that the Big Ten is the Big Ten. You mentioned the non-conference. Do you anticipate Nebraska being able to navigate through this Big Ten because of their talent, their elevated level of talent? I'm not saying you're guaranteeing an NCAA tournament run, but what makes you comfortable and feeling like maybe it could happen again this year?
Well, I think, you mentioned the talent, but I think they're versatile. I think they can play a lot of different ways. Fred has mentioned there's about 11 players that he feels comfortable that he could play, and that versatility, I think, bodes well for them. I kind of use the analogy, Frost thought he was going to come into the Big Ten and kind of out-system everybody, and that's the one question I have on Coach Hoiberg is this isn't a a data league, right, in terms of looking at points per possession and tempo and all the things that he looks at offensively. This league will slow you down and grind you down. If you're not willing to play that way, you can't have success. However, I think he has elevated his skill players to overcome the style that he wants to play, even though that doesn't fit into the Big Ten, which, is a very physical half-court league. I think you can play a different way if you have good enough players. And to my eye, and whether or not they can defend and rebound and make enough perimeter shots, I think this team is talented enough to overcome the style that is the Big Ten. Iowa has been able to kind of use smoke and mirrors on the defensive end and score a lot of points and win. I think this team, can do that. Now they got to stay healthy, and the Verge has to be what he's been, and McGowan has to be a 5-star talent and have all those things play out what we think they can do. But I do to just looking at the schedule, they have a chance to have a good start. The middle is going to be a grind, but then if they can stay healthy, I think they'll finish strong. And this is a team that I don't think a lot of people in the league are going to want to play.
Andy Markowski with us. Andy, let's shift gears to the Husker women. And how's the transition been for Alexis? How are things going for her down at Nebraska?
Yeah, great. Thanks for asking, Chris. Super excited. I think Amy's got a great culture. A lot of players back. I think there's an influx in freshmen that are going to challenge for minutes. Jazz Shelley, the transfer from Oregon. If people haven't heard about her or have seen her play, I think is going to add another really dynamic wing guard player for them that can shoot the basketball and make a lot of passes and get teammates baskets. So, I think it's going to be a double, Chris. I think the men and women are going to be in the NCAA tournament. It's going to be a fun winter in Lincoln.
You know how this place gets, bud. When it's tournament time, you've been part of NCAA tournament teams. It's really pretty much unmatched, Andy. I mean, football's football and people love it, but the joy and passion with Nebraska basketball dancing, men and women, I mean, you lived it. Could you put it into words?
Yeah, no, it's, Nebraska fans are the best, and you have to give them a reason to come and support, and, winning's a big part of that. But, I think, both programs have some momentum. They've upgraded their rosters from a talent standpoint, and to your point, Chris, and what's greater than to sit there and watch your teams competing in a great conference and having a chance to play postseason basketball. And my hope is we win a game in the NCAA tournament, right? Just to kind of not be reminded of that every year. So I'm still optimistic that Fred is going to get that done, and hopefully this is a group to do it.
Andy, we'll get caught up again throughout the year. Always love your takes and insight and expertise. Enjoy this season. We'll check in again soon, and thanks for your time today, bud.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There he is, Andy Markowski with us on Hail Varsity Radio. Proud Papa. Alexis was so much fun to watch at Pius, and going to be awesome to see her and her teammates for Coach Williams this season. And Andy doesn't BS, doesn't sugarcoat. The guy coached for Dockage, right? And Andy's been around a lot of basketball. Does a great job when he hops on for state boys and girls. It's if he's telling you the eye test is kind of wowing him, that's how I'm translating it, Elijah. Be excited, man. Yeah, be excited and enjoy tonight.
And if he is correct, this is really far ahead to look, but if he's correct and Nebraska basketball goes dancing, are we taking the show on the road?
Why not? As long as I'm allowed out of the freaking basement, we'll go wherever we need to go for both of them. Tom Dienhart on the way. We'll talk Purdue, Nebraska next on Hail Varsity.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmitty on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
Back into it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. A deeper look at Purdue as we talk to a publisher and editor of goldenblack.com. Tom Dienhart, a guy who knows the Big Ten well, knows Purdue well. Tom, thanks for a few minutes. How are you?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to the ball game. It ought to be very interesting to see who can come out up. I know Nebraska's got some desperation, and Purdue's coming off its worst loss of the year, so it's going to be a lot of very fun storylines to watch.
Tom, you're right on about desperation. And do you have a feel? I know we're midweek, but do you have a feel at all as to what Purdue team will show up? And in all honesty, what is this Purdue team? Do you think they're closer to Iowa v. Purdue, or are they closer to the Wisconsin v. Purdue? What's your read on this football team?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, Chris. I'll say this. Wisconsin, they've got a legit defense, and it showed on Saturday against Purdue. Now, this is a Purdue offense that's very flawed, really struggle to run the football, don't get a consistent push in the ground game. They have to play multiple quarterbacks with the sole intent of hopefully sparking the ground game and getting some rushing yards out of their quarterbacks. And Wisconsin really sat on David Bell, and Purdue couldn't run. They couldn't find alternate receivers, and it turned out to be a 30-13 loss. Now, Iowa, for some reason, never adjusted their defense to David Bell. They kept letting him catch the ball, never pressed them, wanted to keep everything in front of them, and Purdue burned them. So, long story short, I got to think Nebraska's going to be physical with Bell and try to take him away again. So can Purdue find other targets to make Nebraska pay, and can it generate some semblance of a ground game to make Nebraska try to respect the Purdue to run to some degree?
Tom Dienhart's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. You can find Tom on Twitter at Tom Dienhart1, and editor, covers Purdue football, writer with goldenblack.com, with Yahoo and Rivals. So, Tom, let's flip it around, and you've seen a lot of Big Ten football. You've covered college football at a national level for a number of years. What's your take on Nebraska this year? What's your reaction to their season, their near misses, their near wins? You know, how do you ballpark the Big Red here in year 4 of Scott Frost?
Yeah, they're close. What is it? I think 5 losses by 8 points or less, I want to say. They're right there. It seems like they're on the precipice. They're not ready to win the division or anywhere close to that, but I think most people thought they would take a step forward this year and be a bowl team for the first time since 2016. I can't believe I actually said that. It's been that long since that storied program has been in the postseason. And, you know, I'm not telling your listeners anything they don't know. 4 games left. This Purdue game at home is one they got to win because, they have Ohio State, Iowa, and I think Wisconsin left after that. So there's a lot of heavy lifting. They got to win 3 of those 4 to get bowl eligible. And again, I think as long as they keep Adrian Martinez healthy, and it sounds like he's healthy after this off week, they have a chance to always be pretty good offensively. And defensively, I know they've had their issues getting to the quarterback, and they're not that great against the run either. So, again, a work in progress. I think fans are expecting more at this point, but certainly looks like a program that, like I said, most people thought will at least get to 6 or 7 wins, get the postseason, and that may be a real struggle at this point.
Tom, as you look at the Frost-Braum dynamic, it's been interesting. 2 guys that pride themselves on play calling and their offensive ingenuity. You've got the Adrian factor where he's been here 100 years, and, man, you're not in anything without him. But there's been some mistakes. Flip it around, the 3-quarterback look for Braum you touched on here. What makes Braum special and difficult after a loss? It seems like he's pretty good at responding.
Yeah, he's going to have to be, Chris. And that's going to be a fascinating thing to watch, right? What's going to be his counterpunch coming off his 30-13 loss? He's the play caller, and he's got this 3-quarterback system. And again, I don't want to make too much of this because really, Aiden O'Connell is the starter, and Aiden O'Connell still plays roughly 90% of the snaps. So it's not like Jack Plummer and Austin Burton are playing a significant number of snaps. Each usually plays less than 10 a game, so when they come in, they largely run the ball. But you know what, Chris? Everybody knows when they come in, they're going to run the ball. So what's going to be the wrinkle off the wrinkle, if you will, to sort of take this unique quarterback situation to another degree and add another twist to it. That's what's going to be fascinating to see. When we see Plummer and Burton finally throw the ball more. So, again, that's something to keep your eye on. Something Jeff Brom's going to have to do. He's going to have to keep evolving this offense because you can't sign free agents. We all know that. So you got to play the hand you're dealt. And that's why you get paid the big bucks, right, Chris? $5 million a year to come up with ideas, to cook up ideas to keep, evolving your offense to make it effective. And that's a big challenge for Jeff Brom at this point.
Tom Dienhart's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, longtime Big Ten man, goldenblack.com, associate editor for Purdue football here as we talk Nebraska and the Boilermakers. Can Nebraska protect Adrian? That's going to be a question I have. Nebraska's gone against the who's who off the edge. When you look at Oklahoma and Michigan State and Michigan, and you've got Ohio State looming. Karlaftis is big time. Purdue's D's, their front seven's really nice. As you look at that matchup, do you think the Boilers have an advantage Saturday with their pass rush, with what they do against the run, Tom? Are they going to be difficult for the Nebraska offense?
Yeah, they'll pose issues, Chris, but Purdue's not that good protecting the passer either. And I know both these teams don't have great sack totals, but that's going to be a good matchup to watch. Which line can protect his quarterback the best? And you're right about George Karlaftis, number 5, a true junior from right here in West Lafayette. His high school was right in the shadow of Ross-Ade Stadium. If you believe these early draft nicks, Chris, 2022 NFL draft, Karlaftis will be a first-round draft choice. So, yeah, I'll tell you what, he brings it every down. Had a scoop and score last week from 56 yards. And, again, he's going to be a handful for whoever's trying to block him. And believe me, he's attracted a lot of double and triple teams this year. Now, if you can believe this, Chris, he's yet to draw a holding penalty this year. We all sort of get a kick out of that. A guy this prolific, the referees have still never seen him get held. And they have to throw a flag through 7 games this year. So see if he gets a flag for the first time. But, again, he's special. And we'll see what the rest of this line can bring. This defense, I know they gave up 30 points. Almost 290 yards rushing last week, but I'll tell you what, it's still been the backbone of the team all year. And nobody expected that, Chris. Nobody thought this defense, with an entirely new staff, would be the strength of the team in 2021. But here we are. And again, last week the defense just got worn down. That was a 13-13 game at halftime. Purdue committed 5 turnovers. They kept throwing the defense back out there, and it finally went bust. Physical Wisconsin just finally ran it down their throat. So don't be too misled by the rushing yardage total last week for the Badgers. It's still a very good defense and the strength of the team. And then, like you talked about Karloff, he's the real bellwether there. Keep your eye on number 5 off the edge.
Tom Dienhart's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Tom, I want to get back to these last couple games for Purdue. A big win over Iowa and then a disappointing loss to Wisconsin. And the difference was turnovers. Purdue protected the ball well against Iowa, who's been known for taking the ball away this year. And then they really were a turnover machine against Wisconsin. What was the difference in those 2 games? And what kind of ability to protect the ball do you expect from Purdue coming into Nebraska this weekend?
Yeah, they got to throw the ball downfield. And we know anytime you throw, you're taking chances. And often, the Badgers had timely blitzes. And I tell you what, their linebackers, Jack Sanborn and Leo Chanel, are special. And they came unblocked a few times. But what Wisconsin did a lot was they only rushed 3 and they would drop 8. And they typically had 2 guys around David Bell. And Aiden O'Connell really forced some passes. 3 interceptions, it was bad. All 3 were bad. Most interceptions are bad, but the routes were jumped. He overthrew a guy badly another time. Jeff Brom's got to live with it. He just hopes O'Connell doesn't force too many passes. They got to push the ball downfield. That's the only way they can really consistently move it. Most teams take away the deep ball. They're not going to let Purdue beat them over the top. So O'Connell's got to be a little bit more patient and take stuff underneath. Maybe players can make some yards after the catch. So again, credit that Badger defense by and large. The way they played, the way they took away Bell. And I'll tell you what, too, guys, with David Bell getting that type of attention, other receivers for Purdue needed to step up, and it didn't happen. Their tight end was the guy who stepped up last week. Payne Durham caught 9 passes. But they need guys like Milton Wright, T.J. Sheffield, and Brock Thompson to step up. If you guys are going to double-team David Bell, somebody else is getting single-covered. That somebody's got to be found, and that somebody's got to get open and catch the ball.
Tom Dienhart's with us, previewing Purdue, Nebraska. It'll be great to see Tom Dienhart back in Memorial Stadium, man. It'll be good to get this thing going. And the games have always been fascinating between Nebraska and Purdue, and Purdue's had Nebraska's number. Nebraska able to get pressure a year ago and get after the quarterback, and one of the more impressive wins for the Big Red in the Frost era a year ago. Tom, I'm asking you about this Purdue unit as a whole. You've got Iowa, you have Wisconsin, now you have Nebraska. Man, that's a consecutive stack of muscle, right? With some physical football teams. How's Purdue holding up? How do you think they're doing physically going into this? And the Big Ten's notorious for really not caring. You're going to play a murderous schedule. Everyone's going to get some, and you're just going to have to deal with it in the Big Ten. How's Purdue feeling coming into this?
Yeah, what a physical conference. Before that run, they played Minnesota, which is a very physical team, too, as you guys know. You guys just played the Gophers, and they had Minnesota, then they had their off week, then Iowa, then Wisconsin, now Nebraska. So, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, right? From a health standpoint, Purdue's in about as good a shape as they could hope for as we get toward November, guys. They've been without their number one running back, Xander Horvath, almost the entire season. He broke his left fibula in game number 2 at Connecticut way back on September 11th. Jeff Brom was, quote, not optimistic that Horvath would be back. That's too bad. Purdue, really, guys, they have one scholarship running back. And again, that's what necessitates the use of these quarterbacks as runners to try to help that augment that ground game. So that's the biggest guy they're going to be missing offensively. A couple guys you said are banged up on the O-line, but I think they're going to end up playing Greg Long and Tyler Witt. Defensively, fellas, Purdue's without its best cornerback, Corey Trice. He's missed most of the year. He has a knee injury. He's done. But the guy who's come in for him, Jamari Brown, has done a pretty good job. So otherwise, that defense is fairly healthy. Now, one of their other ends, DeMarcus Mitchell, plays the Leo spot like a hybrid end linebacker. He's hardly played this year. Brom doesn't think he's going to play Saturday, so that may not be that big of a loss. So, again, long story short, they're pretty healthy as they're hitting the home stretch of the season here, guys, and they're going to need all hands on deck to try to obviously come out of Lincoln there with a win.
Tom Dienhart. Tom, great perspective. We'll see you this weekend. Thanks for making time.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Take care. Look forward to it.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Time for a Jock Doc Wednesday. Lincoln Orthopedic Center, Dr. Ben Woodhead with us. Dr. Ben, how are you?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Hanging in. Hanging in. Excited to get out of quarantine tomorrow. So
you take care of yourself.
I'm going nuts, Dr. Ben.
I understand.
Let's dive into the Fall Classic World Series last night. And what a performance by Charlie Morton. Old Chuck took a 102-mile-per-hour shot off of his right fibula and then said, you know what, I'm going to pretend I'm John Wayne for Halloween and face 3 more batters. Dr. Ben, touch on this pain tolerance the legendary Charlie Morton must have.
Well, I mean, anytime you break a bone, if everybody's ever broke a bone, that is a significant amount of pain, especially, after you break it, you bleed internally, and that causes a tremendous amount of pain as it is. That's almost some dumb strength there for him to be able to push through and just continue playing with it.
Well, let's talk about the injury. He just physically couldn't keep going. His leg gave out. And you see pitchers a lot of times react on the hill, and they'll make a great grab. You've seen it go the other way where there's unfortunately been some line drives off the noggin or you've been grazed. And are you surprised that it's not worse, not that it's not bad? A broken right fibula is no good, but could it have been worse with that type of velocity, the exit velocity coming off the bat?
Well, I mean, you think about any time that a ball comes at you. I mean, it could be catastrophic. You can get hit in the face. You can have orbital fractures. You can hit your elbow. You could hit your throwing arm. I mean, really the possibilities are endless if that ball hits you specifically in a certain spot. And so not that his injury is good or bad, but yeah, it certainly could have been worse. And I remember even when I was pitching as a kid in Little Tykes baseball, that's always your biggest concern is a line drive coming right at you.
Dr. Ben Woodhead's with us, Lincoln Orthopedic Center at Jock Doc Wednesday. Now, Dr. Ben, between innings, the X-ray machine at the stadium snapped an image of Morton's leg, and the diagnosis was no break, but it hurt, so they did some more tests, obviously. The discomfort didn't stop, and he still went out the next inning. He came out for the third, but it continued to be uncomfortable and painful. When we talk about the break, what is the process next for Charlie to heal? And when it comes to you and other folks, is there a surgical intervention needed, or is it more of a setup where you cast and let it heal? How do you treat this?
So a lot of that depends on where the actual break is in the lower leg. And so there's certainly areas that there's a non-displaced fracture in simple terms, meaning the bone has not shifted at all, that, you don't have to do surgery in a lot of situations like that. The other alternative, depending on the mechanism, if you actually break the lower leg and the bone actually shifts and it actually moves, there's a lot of indications where you actually have to go in and surgically fix those. So a lot of it just depends on the actual fracture type, where the location is. If it is something that does not have a large amount of displacement or basically movement, then that's something where you can immobilize the lower leg. You can actually do some non-weight-bearing type of activities and allow it to heal in like a cast. And so, that's best case scenario.
We're talking about Charlie Morton, pitcher for Atlanta, took a line shot off of his right leg, busted his right fibula, and still pitched to three more batters. So with this, when we talk about Charlie getting back at it in spring training, is this going to be an issue of strength? He still hits upper 90s on the gun. He's 37. Atlanta said, we like your giddy up, so here's a $15 million deal. It's a 1 year. But when it comes to his wind up, his motion, and then also the stretch, is there potential lingering issues with that plant leg, that right leg that he pushes off the rubber with?
Yeah, that's always the concern. The nice thing about bony type of injuries is that once that bone actually heals, though, a lot of times that bone can come back as strong or even stronger because the body will kind of lay down bone on top of that, and it really provides kind of a good structure and support system for planting off like that. His biggest issue is that as he's not doing activities, he's going to get weaker and he's going to have to get into rehab and basically do a lot of other strengthening type activities to get that strength back that he had before. And so it's not necessarily that the bone is not going to be as strong and not supportive. It's going to be the surrounding tissues that he's going to have to kind of recondition to be able to do the things that he's always done.
Dr. Ben Woodhead's with us, Lincoln Orthopedic Center at Jock Doc Wednesday. Charlie Morton of Atlanta, our topic today. Dr. Ben, what are some of the rehab and the strength training you just kind of hinted at that he'll need to get into? What are some exercises, some training regiments that he'll need to dive back into?
Well, once he's able to basically get the all clear that everything is healed and that the bone is stable for him to start doing those types of things, it'll be kind of baby steps. He'll gradually get back into the weight bearing, he'll gradually get back into the jogging, and then do more of the sports specific type of training. For him, lower extremity and strengthening that lower extremity is going to be high on the priority list. And as he gets the green light, he's going to be able to go back. Not full bore, but it's going to be baby steps to where he gets that strength back and then goes from one level to the next. The nice thing for him is his healing capacity is high. He's young, he's healthy, and so he's going to have a lot of things going for him to where he's going to be able to get back to 100%, sooner than a lot of people.
Dr. Ben, is this one of the more difficult injuries to navigate? Have you seen folks come all the way back from it, or is it one of those that folks more times than not are able to recover from?
I think he'll be able to recover from this. All of these injuries are devastating in the sense that it keeps them out of sports. Sometimes the ones that can be a little bit more problematic, though, is if they actually break and the fractures go into their joint, or, you have secondary types of ligamentous injuries. Then those are things that take some additional healing. But as long as he heals this, he should get back to a full recovery, and hopefully he's back to where he was at his baseline before the injury.
Well, pretty remarkable. Charlie Morton throwing 10 pitches on a broken leg, set down for a half inning, threw 6 more pitches, and his last 2, 96-mile-per-hour, 80-mile-per-hour curveball strikes to get Altuve out. 16 pitches, throwing off a broken leg, Dr. Ben. That's a wow moment.
It's amazing, and that's why these guys compete at the level that they do, isn't it?
It is. Dr. Ben Woodhead with us, Lincoln Orthopedic Center at Jock Doc Wednesday. Atlanta pitcher Charlie Morton in that broken right fibula, as he was able to gut it out for one more inning on the mound. Dr. Ben, we'll get caught up again. Thanks for a few minutes today.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Take care of yourself, okay?
Will do.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time with Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to our guest today, Mike Leach, the Pirate, with us. Got us kicked off at 4. And Elijah will have some more of that on the 2-minute drill here on ESPN Lincoln Twitter. And the full interview, ESPNLincoln.com, and also on Twitter. Mike Babcock and Mike Schuhart, incredible. Tom Dienhart, phenomenal on Purdue. And the Pride of Ord, Andy Markowski, with us to preview Nebraska men's basketball, some thoughts on the women's team as well, and Andy's real high on the Big Red, both men's and women's, for maybe getting fit for some dancing shoes. So going to want to hear those. Tomorrow on the show, Gary Barnett with us. Brandon Vogel will join us. The Pride of Chicago's Danny Burke with Burke's Best Bets from Beeson Sports Network. And then our favorite sideline man, Jeremiah Searles, with us to talk Nebraska-Purdue. Let's hear a little bit more from Trev Alberts and his sit-down last night with the network, specifically what he was seeing this week at practice, as a lot of ones-on-ones, which was good as Nebraska's trying to gear up for the Boilermakers. Here's Trev.
I try to get to practice as much as I can. This is a fairly ambitious job, especially since Chancellor Green has me this crazy title of Vice Chancellor. I also have some duties across campus, but I don't get out there as much as I'd like. I try to stop in a couple times a week, and even if it's just for a half an hour, and just get a sense. Some days it's no pads, it's hard to see a lot. Some days it's full pads, and so just trying to get a sense for how positive the team is and our coaching staff. And I'll tell you, the one thing I'm really proud of is how hard these young men are working and staying together. And I think it's a big part of it. It really, really matters to them, and that really matters to me in terms of where the mental. The culture is in terms of the mental aspect and makeup of our football team and where the leadership is. And I think they're fairly unified and working hard together, and that means a lot.
Real quick from Trev, a facility update. How are things going with the new building, the new digs, and the expansion?
As of right now, we're on time, on budget. Haven't downsized the project. Fundraising continues to go very well. We're not quite to our entire goal, but we initially had to phase 1 and phase 2 of the Go Big project. And while I don't want to get out in front of my skis too far, confident that we're going to be doing the entire project all at once, based on how our fundraising has gone. There still are some processes in the approval, and we'll be working with Chancellor Green and of course the Board of Regents, but feel really positive that we're going to be able. One of the things that was really important to Scott and our coaches is that we wanted to open a project that not only benefits our football team but all of our student athletes. And by being able to execute phase 2 at the same time or in the same process as we're building the Go Big project, our hope is and our thinking is we're going to be able to do that. And I think that's really, really important.
Trev Alberts on the network yesterday. Back at you tomorrow in studio. Thank goodness. Elijah Herbel, you're awesome. Thanks so much. And check out everything, the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Give us a rating, good, bad, or ugly. Subscribe. Hail Varsity Radio. Talk to you tomorrow at 4. Thanks.